Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and welcome to week number 9 of Murder Your Bookie, episode number 11 of the season. In this video, we are going to be going over our spread picks as well as our locks for this week. Now, before we get into it, I like to tell you guys that me and Lucas both went 4-1 last week. We missed on the game, the Cleveland Raiders game, where the weather was just absolutely terrible. It was sleeting, it was raining, it was snowing, and it was windy. So we missed on that, which improved my record to 15-19. I'm 5-3 on locks and 20-22 total. Lucas is 23-11, 6-2 on locks, and 29-13 total. So I just need to get my picks a little bit better, and then our combined ROI is going to be above 60. But I was on fire at the beginning, then absolutely terrible in the middle, and now the train has started again to me being on absolute fire. So do you have anything to say, Lucas, before we get into it?
No, I think the one thing with weather, I totally disregarded it last week. Came to, I guess, like the podcast cycle that I listened to, came to realize that there was bad weather on Friday. But there's nothing you can do. Obviously, we recorded this on Thursday. So that's the one thing to keep in mind that we'll be paying a lot more attention to coming up. Because I don't know if it affected. Really, the only game I think it affected was this Browns game. Just due to they were punting the ball on like the 30-yard line instead of kicking field goals, because you had to, right? So that's something where we can reevaluate that going forward. But now we know to pay more attention to weather. And yeah, I mean, we're both 4-1 last week. Like I said, it's hard to. I'm hitting at 69% right now, and that's tough to keep up because now I have to hit. Since we do 5 picks a week, I basically have to hit 4 out of 1 every week, or else my average is going to be going down. But still, if you're above 52, that's profit. That's all you need on the season. And we are well above that.
Great success. So let's get into it. Oh, and also, what's funny as fuck when I don't know if you were watching the Browns game, but either kicker kicked the ball and it was right up the middle, and the thing just hooked left right at the end. And it was the most insane thing I've ever seen. So with that said, let's get into it. I will begin. Again, we ordered these from 1 to 5. The lock number 1 will be at the end. 2 through 5 are at the beginning. And I'll just say which rank I'm doing first. So obviously this is number 2. Steelers versus the Cowboys. I'm going with Pittsburgh minus 13.5. The Cowboys are 0-8 up against the spread. They have not covered once thus far this season. Maybe they had a bye. I don't even know if they did. And if they did, they covered that week. So I guess maybe they have 1 win. But with that said, in every single game they've played, they've never covered the spread. The Pittsburgh Steelers are on fire. They are 7-0 right now going into this week, and I expect them to absolutely roll the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know how the Dallas Cowboys are going to be able to stop guys the likes of Juju Smith-Schuster, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, if he's healthy. Now, of course, he normally dies during the game. I'll tap on wood for that one because I don't want that to happen. But every time I seem to start him in fantasy, he ends up getting hurt, so maybe I won't start him this week so my bet can hit. Pittsburgh minus 13.5. It just seems as close to a lock as it can get. The Cowboys defense is absolutely decimated. We don't even know who's starting at quarterback. It could be Ben DiNucci, but then they pivoted off and said it's not going to be Ben DiNucci. Now it's going to be Cooper Rush, some guy named Gilbert. No idea who that guy is. So I'm not really trusting them at all. They looked terrible with Ben DiNucci last week, and now they're crawling even further back into the depth chart for the 4th or 5th guy. I'm not confident at all in the Dallas Cowboys, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are on absolute fire. So I'm going to take them minus 13.5, even if the number seems very high. It doesn't seem actually high for this matchup, but minus 13.5 is always a pretty high number. So what do you think about the Steelers versus the Cowboys?
Yeah, I think if it's under 14, you bet the Steelers. I get that's a lot of points, but I think a good example is the Chiefs last week still covered the spread against the Jets, who I know the Jets aren't good, but people think that they're not good because they didn't cover. They actually moved the ball down the field, and got field goals, right? That's still beneficial. The Cowboys don't even do that, right? They're not even doing that against this Eagles defense. Yes, they scored 9 points, but they should be scoring. The Jets would put up 15 to 20 points on the Eagles. The Giants did. We saw that. The Giants has put up points on the Bucks, right? The Cowboys wouldn't even be doing any of this. So I think if it's under 14, you lay Pittsburgh. If you wanted to, you could mess around with some alternate lines. I'm sure there's some minus 20.5, or you could tease it, or I think it's please it the other way is what it's called. I don't know. Some books have that too. But yeah, no, I think lay 13.5 here. There was a funny article or sort of interview last week with the Steelers Ravens game that the Steelers said that they were literally at a certain point, they weren't even calling plays. Big Ben was just saying pass protect and telling the receivers which routes to run against the Ravens. So I don't even want to know what they're going to do against the Cowboys this week. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The Cowboys are going to have a top 5 pick. We're going to say this every week. We're done betting on them. We learned the hard. I think out of our 5 locks, I think 3 of those are Cowboys picks, the losses. So yeah, take the Steelers under 14. If you want to mess around with some good odds, I'm sure there's a minus 20.5 for probably like plus 200, which is definitely possible for this team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Cowboys absolutely suck. So nothing really to talk about more in that game. Just
No.
a betting against the Cowboys type move. And you're betting on a good team as well when you're taking them. The Steelers minus 13
Yeah,
and a half. So who's your first
exactly.
pick here?
Yep. So my first, besides a locker, number 2 is the Broncos plus 3.5. If you were smart, you took them at 4. You also would have teased them up to plus 10 earlier in the week. And I guess, I mean, we say this every time we bet on one of our teams. Like, we don't bet bias. I that is the last thing I do, right? I just bet in certain situations like these when there is no home field advantage. You're in a dome, which even helps Drew Lock, a struggling quarterback, right? Like we saw last year when he was in domes against the Texans. I think there was one more game at the end of the year that he destroyed for some reason, right? And I'll be the first to admit that Lock's been really up and down, but I know the Falcons aren't 3.5 points better than the Broncos.
Yeah.
If you want to give home field, I still don't even think they're a point better than the Broncos. I think it just comes down to who has a better defense. The Broncos clearly do. Who has the better offense? Like, you could say the Falcons do, but like, do they actually? I think last week we kind of saw like they can, but they're relying way too much on like these big plays that just aren't happening for this team, and the Broncos don't let up big plays. So I'm going to take the Broncos plus 3.5 here. Tease them up through 10, or tease them to 10 if you can get them at plus 4. Take them at the plus 4. Honestly, it's probably a decent money line bet as well. I don't know. I just think this game is more of a pick 'em really than anything. I know the Falcons are in quotation marks riding hot. The last 3 games or whenever they made the coaching change, but they've been winning these games by 2 or 3, and the Panthers almost came back and won last week in the rain with a backup quarterback for half the game without Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to take the Broncos here, and hopefully Philip Lindsay becomes the starting running back, and this is an easy cover.
Yeah, if they give Philip Lindsay the ball more than like 8 times, then yeah, they'll probably easily
Yeah.
cover this. The Falcons' defense is atrocious. My only worry, though, like you said before, the Falcons are actually looking better. Like, you can't just be that bad and just getting so unlucky throwing the game so many times to where now I feel like maybe the luck has reversed and maybe they'll clutch up the game. But in reality, I do like the Broncos. Drew Lock looked very good last week. The defense played very good later in the game, making Herbert the pervert make a couple false throws. So I think that the Broncos are pretty good here. Apparently, Von Miller may actually come back 3 weeks from now, which would make absolutely no sense for him unless the Broncos are going to make the playoffs, which actually is possible considering the fact that they talked about maybe making it an 8-team playoff on each side. So with that said, I like the Denver Broncos plus 3.5. I'd have to agree with Lucas. So my next pick here is the Washington football team versus the Giants. And no way in fuck am I taking the Giants. Washington minus 2.5, an in-division matchup. The Washington football team has been covering spreads like it's their job. And I think they cover here up against the New York football Giants. Danny Dimes has not been looking all that great. I'm not too sure if the Giants will move on with him at the end of the season. Maybe depending on what pick they get, if they can get Fields, if they can get Trey Lance, maybe even the BYU guy later in the round. So I don't know what they're going to do, but what I do know is that the Washington football team is on fire. Terry McLaurin, their captain, now absolutely electric man, and he is going to absolutely torch this Giants defense. The Giants defense has looked pretty good, but I think minus 2.5, that's a good number to take them at. If it was like minus 7, I'd feel absolutely no confidence in that pick. But the Washington football team has looked pretty good thus far this season. They have been covering as of recently, and in an in-division matchup, up against the Giants, I just feel like I go with the better coach, and Ron Rivera is by far the better coach over Joe Judge. Now, Joe Judge in the future might be the next fucking Sean McVay or whatever they like to say that these guys are, the next Bill Belichick, the next Cliff Kingsbury, whatever you want to call him. Maybe he is that, but as of right now, Riverboat Ron rolls the Giants, Washington minus 2.5.
Yeah, I think this was the exact same thing that happened last time when I made the football team my lock against this team. I got it at 2.5. Got kind of lucky with how it ended, but I actually bet it because we take the line on Thursday for our locks too. I don't know if we've ever like prefaced that. So like I went and bet the Giants this week when they opened at 3.5 because I just took the hook in a game that these are probably a coin flip. 90 if they played 100 times, I'm sure it would end like not actually in a tie, but it would end within 1 point, probably 75 times, right? So like now it's under a field goal. Yes, now you take Washington. You can honestly middle ground it. Because we saw last time that it came down to a 2-point conversion for the football team that would have went to overtime, I believe.
Yeah.
and the most likely outcome would have been a field goal. So you would have won the plus 3.5, and you wouldn't have won the minus 2.5. So I think honestly, this might trend down towards like a minus 1.5, minus 2, which honestly, then you just take the football team. But yeah, I think not even, I think the football team is like, not even that they're like on fire. They just upgraded from really crappy to manageable on offense. And that's all a
Yeah.
team needs to do with a good defense like they do, right? That's what we see with the Broncos, what we see with the Raiders, like teams like these that just need manageable on offense. And they finally found that. But yeah, I think under 3, take the football team. Over 3, take the Giants. Like, the Giants are a good teaser. Plus, it'd be plus what, 8.5, because their offense is still. We've clearly seen their offense is good enough the last 2 weeks just to come and backdoor these games, just because they have a little bit of explosiveness. But yeah, this is another kind of important game for this whole division too. I know a couple weeks ago I don't know, I went and personally placed football team to win the division at plus 900. The next week they dropped down to like plus 400. If they were to lose this, they'll probably be at like plus 1,000. So there's kind of all these games matter for this division, clearly. And the Cowboys, I have a bet on them to win it, so I kind of hope they can win too somehow. So yeah, it's definitely a big crap show. But I would take the football team under a field goal. I would take the Giants over a field goal, and I think the over is at like 42 for this game. I think that's one where you could tease down. The defenses are. I don't know. It seems like a 40-point game, kind of
Yeah.
more often than not in this one as well. So yeah, I don't mind that at all.
All right. So
My
who's your 3?
yeah, my 3, and I almost made this one my big lock. I don't know. There's a lot of good picks this week. The Bears and Titans over 46.5. Really, this comes down to, the Titans defense has been brutal. They've just been allowing so many big plays. Joe Burrow in the crappy weather. I was so because I had a lot of. I had a teaser, I had a parlay, and I had the straight up bet for this Bengals Titans over last week, and it hit. But I realized right when the weather was bad, I was like, "Oh crap! There's no way that Joe Burrow in this bad weather and a team that wants to run the ball is going to be able to score," and they did, just because the Titans defense is so bad.
Yeah.
You come against the Bears defense, which is manageable, I would say, a little bit above average. But then this Titans offense is just very efficient. So 47, you're expecting what, a 20, 24, 23 game. I think the spread's -6. So 27-20 is what you're expecting this game to finish as. And I think the Bears clearly hit that 20-point range. They did it on the Saints last week. They did it on the Bucks 2 weeks ago. The week before that, I don't know where they played, but I'm pretty sure they hit it as well. And the Titans defense is just super explosive. And the Bears are also kind of playing for playoff hopes, because if they lose this, they're out of it right now. They lose this, they're going to be like 2 games back without it, and then they still have to play the Packers again, the Vikings again, and the Lions again. So I think this is a big game for both sides, really, because the Titans kind of the Colts are kind of gaining momentum too. So I kind of like just the over 46.5 in this game. The weather's supposed to be a little bit rainy, I believe, but it should be perfectly fine for another sort of, and this is the game where it'll be like maybe 14 points at half, and then you just know that the Titans are going to catch steam like they do if they get down or something like that. So I like the over 46.5 in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Titans are going to look really good in this one. They didn't look really good at all, or not that they didn't look good, just the passing attack looked awful up against the Bengals, which is like one of the easiest teams to defeat via throwing the ball. The Bears looked pretty good last week up against the New Orleans Saints. Now, they looked very bad until the end. Then Nick Foles just catches steam normally towards the end of the game and just starts heaving the rock and somehow brought him back into the game. Probably could have won that game in overtime. I think that the over here at 46.5 is pretty good, and I think it may actually move lower, considering the perception of these two teams are that they kind of suck, right? Not that they suck. Obviously, they have good records, but that they're not the greatest teams. Maybe people think they're overhyped or something, and then you can get the number even lower. Depending on the perception of the people betting. So I like that. My next pick here is the Dolphins versus the Chargers. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Nick. You like the Dolphins, so that's why you picked them. And that is not right, actually. I took them last week up against the Rams. I don't think I took them on the show, but I bet the mortgage on them. Miami +4 this week up against the Arizona Cardinals. I have no clue how good Tua is going to look. But my opinion is that Tua is a good player and that they're going to unleash him in this game up against the Arizona Cardinals because Kyler Murray will be putting up points. The Dolphins defense looked unreal last week. The offense didn't need to do anything. That's why Tua threw 1 touchdown. That's why Gaskin ran in a touchdown. They didn't have to do anything. They could easily cruise through the game because the Rams offense played like absolute dick. That's not going to be the case in this one. The Cardinals offense is very good. No way around that. Chase Edmonds is going to be the running back, and Chase Edmonds, in my opinion, is better than Kenyon Drake and will actually be able to move the ball. So we are going to be seeing a close matchup here, and I think the Dolphins may win the game outright. They're plus 170 to win outright, but I'd rather just take them plus 4 and feel safe if they just lose by a field goal. So what do you think about the Dolphins versus the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think this is one where the only pushback I have is like Tua just did not look comfortable last week, and I don't know, like, and I can't really give any reasoning on either side, right? Like that's the problem with this. I think that's why it's kind of in an odd number at 4, because like I am not. I remember whenever Seattle beat Seattle lost to the Cardinals, I blatantly said like the Cardinals are overrated to a certain extent. Like this offense is like they are two-dimensional. They are Kyler Murray on the ground and feed the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. Their run game is non-existent. I know that Kenyon Drake had like 170 yards against the Cowboys. Like, okay, Frank Gore would have 100 yards against the Cowboys, right? Like, you got to lower our expectations here a little bit. So I think this is going to be a good game on both sides to kind of evaluate how the betting and these teams, because these teams are kind of like, are they going to get that 6 or 7 seed, or are they going to get a top 12 pick, right? Like, because they're both kind of just in that gap of like, I don't know yet. So this is a perfect game for Tua to take advantage of this very leaky secondary in the Cardinals. And this is also a really good chance for Kyler to show that he can. This Dolphins defense has been good. Both defenses have really been like way better than expected. This is a good opportunity for both quarterbacks who could be the future of the NFL to really like prove that they're over this hump of being 4 to 5 point underdogs to being touchdown favorites, right? So I think this is a weird spot, but I think the plus 4, like that's the right side. I don't think you can't expect the Cardinals to come out and win by 5 or more points. I don't mind teasing this one to plus 10, or on the opposite side for the Cardinals too. I think it'd be if I can do math, plus 2. I'd probably wait to get that to 3. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a fun game on more of a real football perspective, just to kind of see actually what can happen. And this is going to come down to Tua a lot, right? Because I mean, Breida might not even be playing, so you're down to Howard and Patrick Laird, which I think Laird is definitely capable of. He's capable of being all right, which is all this Dolphin team needs. But it's really going to come down to, okay, now can we really utilize Tua in the air attack game that I don't want to say hasn't been clicking because they haven't needed it to click. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun game. I think Miami's the right side here. But I think this will be like if you are watching this game, like this will be a good teller for betting going forward to kind of evaluate these teams.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? This game you know what they decided to televise nationally, CBS? We're gonna have to watch Dallas versus the Steelers instead of having to watch this. Unless you live in Florida or parts of Arizona, you do not get to watch this game. So very nice from CBS.
You just gotta get Sunday ticket. They have if you college kids listening, $25 a month. I know it's kind of late now. I don't know if you can actually get it.
Sunday ticket. I got it. I watch it on my computer and I watch Red Zone on the TV.
Yeah, no, because I haven't watched the game of the weeks in a long time because there's so many other better games. So many other better games that have been on.
Yeah, speaking of terrible spots on a big scale on Monday Night Football, your next pick.
Yeah. Man. Okay. So I have never seen a total of 42.5 and been like, wow, that is super high, right? Like like hear me out here. The Bills and Patriots last week total was 43. Okay. Now you have the Patriots and the Jets at 42.5, basically 43, right? Like 42 is the key number here. 21, or I guess 43 is the key number, the same difference. I don't know if the Patriots can soar on the Jets. And that's bad, right? Like I don't even know who's gonna win this game. Like I'm being like dead serious. I think the Jets last week, like people just saw the Chiefs destroying them in the final score and like they suck. The Jets like actually kind of look good on offense, meaning like they pushed the ball out on the field. They were taking deep shots to Denzel Mims. They just can't convert because they're the Jets, right? That's not going to change this week. Like they're going to be able to move the ball downfield. The Patriots defense is about the same as the Chiefs, and it's going to be field goal territory for both sides of the ball here. The Patriots don't have Edelman. Their starting receivers are Damiere Byrd, Isaiah Ford, and Jacoby Myers. And the running backs, they switch 9 different running backs every game. So the pick is under 42.5. And the spread is -7. So like you're implying roughly that the Patriots are going to win this game. If I can do some quick math here, 23, nope, 30, no. I don't know what it is. The totals, like, it's so bad. I would just bet the under 42.5. If you can somehow find under 21 for the first half total, dude, that's going to be tough to find because obviously that's like stealing money, right? If you can get under anything higher than a field goal for the first quarter score, do it. If you can bet under Patriots team total, do it. Just to take the under in this game. Like, this is in a normal week, this would be my lock, but I think this week there's so many picks. And like, we don't even have Seattle on our board for a pick this week. So yeah, take the under in this game. The Jets aren't going to be able to finish drives. I don't think the Patriots can score on this Jets team. Both defenses are about average and both offenses are bottom half. I think they're 30th and 32nd in like expected points.
Jesus.
Like, not like actual points in the game, but like it's algorithm on Pro Football Reference. Expected points from your offense every game. I think it's like out of 100. They're bottom two or two of the. It's Jets, Broncos, Patriots. So yeah, take the under in this game on multiple formats. Tease it up to 48.5. Take the under. I think a good one here too is tease the Patriots down to -1. Tease the total up to 48.5.
Yeah.
And print money on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean, I would not even be surprised if Bill Belichick after that game came out and was like bitching about how, oh, we never even had a chance this season. Like, shut up, Bill. All right.
And there's this whole like persona right now of like the Patriots are like in a way purposely losing because they're sitting out. Like, Edelman's always been hurt, right? So why is he hurt now? Like, all these guys, like they're kind of like tanking without tanking because like this is a team that can't tank, right? But
Yeah.
they're working in all these players to gain, in quotation marks, experience just so they can go lose these games without having to get rid of their big guys just to bring in their quarterback next year. So yeah, it's definitely a disaster. I don't even makes no sense. But yeah, take the under. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets just blew them out, like, because the Bill Belichick just gave up, and like Bill Belichick would probably find enjoyment in letting them beat them this week, and then when they play Week 17, letting them beat them again, and then them not getting Trevor Lawrence. That would be the ultimate. Because Adam Gase is too stupid to not realize that, like, holy shit, they're letting me win and just win the game and then not get Trevor Lawrence. So, with that said, I like the under as well. So my next game here and the final one before we get into my lock, Lucas has another pick and then a lock. So I got the Raiders versus the Chargers. I like the over 52. Now I expect something to be different because the Chargers have blown 17-point leads 4 times this season. How many times has that happened in the NFL this year? 5 times. So only one time besides them has a 17-point lead been blown. And I think that was the Falcons versus the Cowboys earlier in the season. The Raiders versus the Chargers. This one just screams a zillion goddamn points. The Raiders would have put up a zillion points on the Browns last week if it wasn't like windy as fuck. So the Chargers defense sucks. The Raiders defense is pretty good, but Herbert has looked very good. So I think Herbert will play well there. To get the over to 52, I almost took the Chargers -1.5, but at the same coin, I feel like they may just end up choking again, even though I feel like the choking has to be over for them. I think they could still fuck up again, so I'll go with the Chargers versus the Raiders over in sunny LA. What do you think about the over under here, 52?
Yeah, I think this game's tough for me to evaluate, like on a pick 'em perspective and like how this game's going to flow because we've seen so many sides of the Raiders and like this is what we said, like
yeah,
there's so much variance on this Raiders team because the coach is John Gruden, because the coach can't figure out what they want to do and stick to it. But that's a good thing in this case. Like, don't take last week. The weather was terrible. They gave their Josh Jacobs 32 carries. Like, that's not going to happen this week. And I think this game's going to solely come down to, like, how does Herbert respond to all these losses, right? And, like, normally a rookie quarterback is just trying to gain experience, but a rookie quarterback that looks as good as Herbert does, like Burrow looks good, like Herbert looks great. Like, obviously, like the stats are there, but like he's losing games, but like he looks like a guy that like once you build a team around him, like he looks like a Russell Wilson type or a Kyler Murray type, like that we're seeing this team around him and now he's becoming the star. So if he can respond, come back, I think it's the line has been moving from like 1 to even on both sides. So you're kind of implying that it's like a 27-26 game if you're matching the line, which I think is definitely possible. So I don't mind the over 52. I think that if it goes much higher, though, I'd probably lean off just because you're expecting a lot of big plays from offenses that still like to run the ball in the case. But yeah, I think this is the right side for sure.
Alrighty. So What is your final pick before we get into the locks?
Yeah, so I had the Saints first half spread at +3, but the lines moved. So I switched it to Baltimore -2. Um I guess the way I evaluate it is you're never going to get Baltimore this low against a team with no offense, I think is the way to put it. Meaning no offense to compete with the Baltimore's defense in a way. I think that the Colts defense is very, 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 very undervalued. Their front seven's fantastic. I think they're going to manage Lamar in this. I think their front seven is just as good as the Steelers' front seven. But because last week we mentioned that Lamar's going to have a good running game, which he did, because they are just going to isolate TJ Watt. Like the Colts don't have that player in a good way, meaning that they're going to play defense to contain Lamar. So it's going to come down to passing, which I think in the long run, I think Lamar is still a better passer than Phillip Rivers. This offense is more creative. But I think that the defensive side is going to win the game in this one, which is the Ravens side for the most part in the secondary. But I think, yeah, -2. It's been moving down a lot. It was -3.5 down to -2. So I think if I would wait personally, if you can, like if you like the 2 ticket, but you might be able to get a 1 or even, I mean, it might go down to a pick 'em on Sunday. But I think this is the right side. But I'm not like super, super confident on it because I think them and the Seahawks are like the kind of middle ground of like, okay, when do these teams fall off? When do they stop covering the spread? Obviously, the Ravens didn't last week, but like Seattle has to fall off this -3 cliff eventually. So I think we're going to see that. We just don't know when yet.
Okay, so I agree with you because I took them as my lock. I bet the Ravens at -3.5, so I'm very confident in them at -2. I think that the Colts are. I think Phillip Rivers will ultimately make the Phillip Rivers mistake late in the game by throwing a pick, giving Lamar the ball. Lamar punches it in, game over. Lamar looked awful last week. You want to know why? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers made him pass. Are the Colts smart enough to make this man pass, to just drop 8 guys into coverage, to not send the fucking house to Lamar Jackson? I have no idea. If they watch the tape from last week, they could find the key to success, but I'm not sure if they will be able to do that. And I think that even up against the Colts defense, which you said is underrated, I actually think the Colts defense is overrated based on what I've been reading because everyone sucks them off, and I think they are good. I completely agree with you at that.
Yeah.
But I think the Ravens defense is even better, like you said, and I think the Ravens ultimately win this game, so I'll take them at -2. And like you said, this may actually go to a pick 'em unless the public moves on to the team that a lot of people like to bet on, the Ravens, and then it just skyrockets back to like -3.5. So I'll happily take them here at -2 as my lock. So obviously you just explained why you liked them. They're your 5th most confident pick. They're my first, so that's my lock going up against Snacks and Animal. Right now, we are absolutely slaying them. We're up by a zillion on them. Let me just read off the record real quick because I think it's pretty funny. We are right now at Bagels and Locks is 7-9. That's not us. That's them. And we are at 11-5. So they are getting murdered by us. So there you go. So here's Lucas's lock now. So I got Baltimore -2. Lucas has.
So no part of me thinks. Okay, I guess this one is completely like situational dependent. So I have the Saints +4. I actually bet it at +5 a couple of days ago. This comes down to like this is very like theoretical betting why you take the Saints side here. So the Saints closed at -4 week 1, if we remember that, at home with no fans. So that is implying they were 4 points better than the Bucs, not 1.5 with the 2.5 home field advantage. They're saying 4 points better than the Bucs. Now there's a little bit. I think there's some fans of the Bucs, so let's give them like 1.5, like an adjusted home field. So now you're implying that the Bucs are now 6.5 points better than the Saints, or a 6.5 point swing from last time, in which Michael Thomas now returns. And yes, the Bucs get Antonio Brown, but we can't say like they're this great team because they have some guy that hasn't played a full season in 2 years and probably still posting on Instagram, doing dumb stuff, right? So I think I haven't seen what have we seen this year that's saying this is a 6.5 line swing. Like both teams have lost, one loss to the Raiders, one loss to the Bears, right?
Yeah.
The Bears loss was much worse than the Raiders loss because the Raiders, like we said, this matchup very, very good against the Saints team. They just attack the middle of the field on these linebackers.
Yeah.
The Bucs, yes, they might do that, but the Saints secondary is very, very good. The Bucs defense is very, very good. So I'm taking the Saints +4 here because I just haven't seen enough. Or like, I mean, okay, I've seen spurts, but like, no one can convince me there's been a 6.5 point swing throughout these 8 weeks on either side, right? Like, I don't even think, like, I think a true line in this game would be just the home field advantage, which if you want it to be 2.5, 1.5, 1, whatever it be, I think this strictly is just the home field advantage and just flip a coin to see who wins this game. So I'm going to take the +4 here. I teased it up through 10, or I guess 11.5, or 11 when I got it, but get it up through 10. The total is kind of high too for defenses, but I think it's really just going to come down to who makes a little bit more plays in who makes a little bit more of these closer plays. And I think this is going to be probably the best primetime game of the year. I think just to show kind of like who's legit, right? Like the Bucs need to make a statement. And this is what we said last week, that last week the Giants were the best bet. The over was a good bet. It's a sandwich game because they were ready for this week. They're doing everything they can to get ready for Sunday night this week. And it's clearly shown, or clearly, I think it will be shown this week. Godwin's back. So this would be a good game. I could definitely be wrong on this too, Rex. I'm not like ignoring the fact that Antonio Brown is coming back as the third receiver on this team, but I'm just saying that all of the math behind the line movement it literally makes zero sense. So I'm gonna take the +4 here on just based on that. And if it moves down to like 3, I would just stay off it. So I would get it now, get it over the hook at 3.5, and hold your breath, I guess, because I don't really know who the better team is in a sense.
Yeah, I don't know either, to be honest with you. I think the Bucs are going to win the game, but I don't think they're going to win in like some route. So maybe they just win by 3. And your bet hits. I'm betting on every single Antonio Brown prop bet that you can find. This guy is going to absolutely clap the cheeks of the Saints, and it's not even going to be close. Maybe he's gone.
You think the lines are going to be low? Like, I don't.
No, it's not going to be low. It's going to be like 60 yards. Boom, he hits it. He's going to hit a touchdown. Yeah. Multiple touchdowns for Mr. Business is booming. So I think he's going to get fed, to be honest with you. And then I think he just disappears slowly as the season goes on. And then the playoffs, he just gets 1 million targets again, and the Bucs somehow win the Super Bowl, which would really piss me off. So yeah, I'm going to hop on all the props, but they're not out yet, obviously. As you guys are watching this, they may be out. So yeah, and next week we'll likely have a sponsor. I am in contact with a book. Their name not going to be disclosed until they fucking pay me the money, because they don't get no free ads over here. So thank you guys.
Someone's got to hop on the train here, and an announcement too. So I did purchase a ticket to go to Tampa this morning, and I think Snacks is going down there. Nick possibly will be going down there. So there may be, for Super Bowl weekend, a little collaborative Bagels and Locks versus Murder Your Bookie action. Still working out the details on that.
Yeah, definitely. All depends for me with Corona, to be honest with you. Like if it's
with
fine
the COVID action,
if it's fine, then I'll probably go. If not, probably gonna have to stay home. But I will be going to Florida later to see Tyler in the summer. So thank you guys all for watching this video. Hopefully you guys can murder your bookie just like we did this week. Last week, and we are going to this week. That's just a call. We're going to obviously destroy 5-0 from both of us. Knock on wood. Doubt it happens, but you never know. Lucas is on fire, so take his picks. My picks, you probably should have been fading him for the last couple of weeks, but now I'm looking good. So now tail him. Hop on board. Have a great rest of your guys' day. I appreciate it. Check out Lucas on Twitter at Lucas_Kaser. Is that it? It's on the screen.
I think it's Kaser_Lucas. I did download it back. I only tweet when it's very, very necessary, and I have to say a few things. So if you want to follow me, go follow me, but don't expect a whole lot.
All right. I tweet out all the time, just the most random things off my head. So go ahead and follow it for that. Nothing very informational, though. I normally talk about football, but it has nothing to do with, like, if you expect some stats, go follow someone else, because I don't tweet any stats. So have a great rest of your guys' day. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and stay safe. Good boy.